The first gunshot exploded through the night like a crack of thunder, then another. Porch lights flickered on in rapid succession. The hum of crickets was drowned out by the frantic barking of dogs. Windows slid open, cautious voices whispering, searching for the source of the disturbance. Then came the screaming, a raw, agonized sound that made the blood run cold. Jason Walker lurched out of the front door, his hand clutched against his stomach, dark crimson seeping between his fingers. His breath came in shallow gasps, his legs weak beneath him. His mind fought to stay conscious, but the pain was unbearable. From somewhere inside, a woman's voice cracked through the night. Lauren, desperate, terrified. "Somebody help!" Jason's vision blurred, but he forced himself forward, staggering toward the street. Then, just as his legs gave out, his eyes locked onto the man still standing inside. Chris, his best friend, his executioner. Red and blue lights painted the houses in harsh flashes as police vehicles screeched to a stop. Officers rushed toward the house, weapons drawn. Inside, they found what was left of a family that had been fractured long before the first shot was fired. Jason was barely clinging to life, his pulse weak. Chris stood in the doorway, his gun lowered but still gripped tightly. His knuckles were white, his chest rising and falling as if the weight of what he'd done hadn't quite settled yet. And then there was Lauren, kneeling beside the lifeless body in the living room. Her hands stained with blood, her face streaked with silent tears. Betrayal had led them here. But this was just the beginning. Jason and Chris had been inseparable for years, brothers in everything but blood. They grilled together on weekends, coached their sons' baseball teams, and sat on each other's porches long after their wives had gone to bed. Chris trusted Jason. Jason envied Chris. Lauren had once adored her husband, but love had turned into something unrecognizable. Chris worked long hours, came home exhausted, and barely saw her anymore. Conversations were brief. Affection had become a memory. She felt like a shadow in her own home. And Jason noticed. He was always there, always listening, always making her laugh when Chris was too tired to. He made her feel like she still mattered. One night, when Chris was working late, Jason poured her another glass of wine. "You deserve to be seen," he murmured, his fingers brushing against hers. And for the first time in years, she let herself believe it. Chris wasn't a fool. He saw the way Jason looked at Lauren, the way she avoided his gaze when Jason was around. The small details nagged at him. The way Jason's laughter was a little too eager when she spoke, the lingering pauses between them, the tension in Lauren's shoulders when Chris asked where she had been. He told himself he was imagining it, that Lauren would never betray him, that Jason, his best friend, would never cross that line. But doubt, once planted, never stops growing. Chris shuffled through the mail absent-mindedly. Bills, a grocery store flyer, junk, then an envelope with no return address. He frowned, tearing it open. A single sheet of paper, a few words, typed without signature. "Your wife isn't as faithful as you think. Ask Jason what happens when you're not home." The words blurred as his hands clenched the paper, crumpling it. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. Someone else knew. Someone else had seen what he had ignored for too long. Chris sat in his truck, the letter on the passenger seat, his fingers drumming against the wheel. His mind raced. Was this a cruel joke? A lie? Or had he been the fool all along? The memory of Jason's smirk flashed in his mind. The quiet intimacy in Lauren's voice when she spoke his name. No, he wouldn't be made a fool of, not by his wife, not by his best friend. By the time Chris stepped out of his truck and walked toward Jason's house, rage had already made his decision for him. By nightfall, one of them would be dead. Jason Walker had always been the dependable neighbor, the one who mowed the elderly couple's lawn without being asked, the first to lend a ladder when someone needed it. But behind the friendly waves and small talk, he harbored a secret. One that he had no right to entertain. His eyes lingered too long where they shouldn't. On her. At first, Jason told himself it was innocent, a harmless crush. Lauren Bennett was beautiful. Any man would notice. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the softness of her laughter. It didn't mean anything. He wasn't acting on it. He was just noticing. That was all. Then came the small moments. An extra second of eye contact, a conversation that lasted just a little too long. "Chris doesn't appreciate you the way he should," Jason said one night, his voice low, laced with something unspoken. Lauren smiled, but she didn't disagree. That night she texted him. He texted back, and then neither of them stopped. Jason knew it was wrong the first time he reached for her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She didn't pull away. She let it happen. And in that split second, something shifted between them. A barrier had been crossed, and neither of them had the strength or the will to turn back. Lauren still remembered when Chris made her feel like the only woman in the world. But that was years ago. Now, their conversations were short, their touch routine, their passion replaced by responsibility. She loved him, but love wasn't enough anymore. Jason noticed things about her, things Chris had long since overlooked. "You look tired," Chris would say, barely glancing at her. But Jason? Jason noticed when she changed her perfume, when she had a new dress. "That color looks good on you," he'd murmur, his gaze lingering, and it stayed with her long after he was gone. At first, she convinced herself it was harmless. Talking to Jason made her feel seen, wanted, but the first time their fingers brushed and neither of them pulled away, she knew she had been lying to herself. She wasn't just lonely. She was looking for an escape, and Jason was more than willing to be it. The secrecy made it intoxicating. The thrill of sneaking around. The electric charge of stolen touches. It was dangerous, but that was part of why it felt so good. With Jason, she felt something she hadn't in years. Alive. Chris worked late. He provided. He was doing everything he could to build a life for them. He never considered that while he was out building their future, his wife was slipping away from him. Lauren used to wait up for him. Now she barely acknowledged him when he walked through the door. She was distant, distracted. Something was wrong, even if she wouldn't say it. Chris just didn't know why. Then, little things started adding up. Jason's glances that lasted a second too long. Lauren's quick, secretive texts. The way she tensed when he mentioned Jason's name. At first, Chris dismissed it, but the nagging doubt wouldn't let go. The envelope was plain, unmarked. Inside, a single sheet of paper, printed words that made his stomach drop. "Your wife isn't as faithful as you think. Ask Jason what happens when you're not home." Chris gripped the letter, his knuckles white. He felt sick. His world was unraveling, and someone out there knew more than he did. It started small, a neighbor noticing Jason leaving Lauren's house too late one evening. Just a second too long, just close enough for suspicion to take root. The whispers began soon after. Lauren was careful. She always deleted messages, always turned her phone face down. But one night, she slipped. A message from Jason lit up the screen. 4 words. "I miss you already." Chris read it twice before the realization sank in. Word spread fast in a small town. It started in hushed voices between neighbors, then at the grocery store, the coffee shop. By the time Chris pieced it together, half the town already knew what he had refused to see. Chris stood outside Jason's house, fists clenched. He had been humiliated, betrayed, the last to know. But now, he was the only one who could decide how this ended. By the time the night was over, someone wouldn't make it out alive. Chris paced the living room, his fists clenching and unclenching. Lauren stood near the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. The denial echoed in his ears. "There's nothing going on," she repeated, but her voice wavered. He had believed her lies before. Not this time. Not after the letter. Not after Jason's name burned into his mind like a wound refusing to heal. Chris took a deep breath, his jaw tight. "Tell me the truth." His voice was raw, edged with fury and hurt. "Were you with him?" Lauren hesitated. Just for a second. But a second was all it took. Chris saw the shift in her gaze, the silent confession. His stomach twisted. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. Chris stormed across the street, rage propelling his steps. His fists pounded against Jason's front door. When it opened, Jason's eyes widened, his body tensing. "Be honest with me," Chris growled, his breath ragged. "Man to man." Jason swallowed hard, glancing past Chris as if looking for an escape. "Chris, just listen to me." Chris stepped forward. "Did you touch my wife?" The silence was deafening. Jason didn't answer. He didn't need to. His expression, the guilt, the regret, said everything. Chris's chest tightened, his hands trembling at his sides. He wanted to hit him. He wanted to do worse. But instead, he turned away, walking back toward his house, each step heavy with betrayal. Jason exhaled, watching Chris's retreating figure. He had won Lauren's affection, but now he had something far more dangerous, Chris's wrath. Jason ran a hand through his hair, his pulse erratic. He had to fix this. He had to make Chris believe it was nothing. "It was a mistake," he said quickly. "It meant nothing." Chris's laughter was hollow, devoid of humor. "Then why do you look like a man who just lost everything?" Jason had no answer, because Chris was right. Lauren stood in the center of the living room, tears pooling in her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. Chris shook his head. "You didn't just hurt me, you tore us apart." She reached for him, but he stepped back. The distance between them had never felt wider. Chris turned back to Jason, his voice like steel. "Stay away from my family." Jason squared his shoulders. "You can't keep her locked away, Chris. She deserves better." Chris took a step closer. "If you come near her again, I swear to God you'll regret it." The words hung in the air, thick with promise. Jason met Chris's stare but said nothing as Chris walked away. The game had changed, and Jason wasn't ready to lose. Jason stood by the window, watching Chris disappear into the night. He exhaled sharply, running a hand down his face. "You don't own her," he muttered under his breath. His phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. "We can't do this anymore." Jason tightened his grip around the phone. She was wrong. It wasn't over. Lauren sat at the edge of the bed staring at her wedding ring. The guilt was unbearable. Chris was a good man, a loyal husband. And yet, she had betrayed him. Could she leave? Could she walk away from the life they built? The answer terrified her. Jason's hands tightened around the steering wheel. Lauren was slipping away. He wouldn't let it happen. He dialed her number. "Meet me," he said when she answered. "We need to talk." "Jason, I can't." "You don't love him," Jason said, his voice breaking. "Not like you love me." Silence stretched between them. "Please," he whispered. Lauren knew she shouldn't let him inside, but when Jason showed up at her door, desperation in his eyes, she faltered. "Tell me you don't want this," he pleaded. "Tell me it didn't mean anything." She opened her mouth to respond, but a shadow moved outside the window. A neighbor, watching. Jason noticed, stepping back. "I shouldn't have come." He left quickly, but the damage had been done. The whispers would start. Chris sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel. His mind raced. He could feel it, something brewing, something dangerous. Jason wouldn't walk away. Lauren wouldn't forget. And he? He was done being the fool. Someone was going to lose everything, and Chris was ready to make sure it wasn't him. Chris grips the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turn white. Jason's truck is parked in front of his house. Again. The audacity of it makes Chris's blood boil. It's not an accident. It's a challenge. A silent taunt. He cuts the engine, jaw clenching. His pulse thunders in his ears as he steps out, each footstep heavier than the last. Jason has crossed too many lines, and Chris isn't about to let this slide. Tonight, it ends. Chris pounds on Jason's door with enough force to rattle the frame. He doesn't care who hears, doesn't care if the whole damn neighborhood watches. When Jason finally opens, he's a mess. Hair tousled, shirt wrinkled, whiskey thick on his breath. Chris steps forward, voice low, controlled. "Stay away from my wife." Jason leans against the doorframe, smirking. "Or what?" Chris exhales sharply, nostrils flaring. He's seconds from snapping. "I mean it," he growls. This is your last warning." Jason just laughs. Jason tilts his head, eyes glassy with liquor and something darker, something reckless. "You can't keep her locked up forever," he taunts. "She's already halfway out the door, Chris." Chris's vision tunnels. His hands shake from the sheer force of holding himself back. "You think this is a game?" His voice is raw, every word laced with venom. Jason shrugs. "It's not my fault she wants something real." Chris lunges before he can stop himself, shoving Jason back into the doorway. The man stumbles but doesn't fall. Jason wipes his mouth, grinning. "Hit me then, if that's all you've got." Chris exhales sharply, fists clenched at his sides. Jason isn't worth it. Not tonight. Chris turns away, forcing himself to step back, though every instinct screams at him to finish what Jason started. Jason chuckles, slow and deliberate. "That's what I thought." Chris stops mid-step but doesn't turn around. He won't give Jason the satisfaction. Instead, he walks away, muscles locked, rage simmering beneath his skin. Jason watches him go, the smirk fading. He expected a fight. He wanted one, but there will be other chances, and when the moment comes, he'll make damn sure Chris doesn't walk away. Lauren jerks awake, heart slamming against her ribs, shouting. She sits up, straining to listen. The voices are muffled, but unmistakable. Chris? Jason? Not again? Her stomach twists as she scrambles out of bed, throwing on a robe. By the time she reaches the stairs, the shouting has escalated. Then, the unmistakable sound of something crashing. Her breath catches. This isn't just another argument. This is different. This is dangerous. Lauren freezes as she reaches the bottom step. Jason stands in the living room, chest heaving, eyes wild. He looks almost unhinged, like a man who's lost everything and refuses to accept it. "Just talk to me," he pleads, voice thick with desperation. "You shouldn't be here," she whispers. Jason steps forward. "I love you." Lauren swallows hard, pressing herself against the banister. "Jason, please, just go." A shadow looms in the doorway. "Lauren." She turns. Chris stands there, gun in hand. Chris's grip on the gun is tight, his hand steady. "You think you can take my wife, my life?" His voice is quiet, but the rage burns just beneath the surface. Jason straightens, unfazed. "I don't have to take her, Chris. She's already gone." Lauren flinches, shaking her head. "Stop it!" Chris's finger hovers near the trigger, breathing ragged. Every nerve in his body screams for action. Jason's lips curl into a smirk. "Go ahead. Do it." Chris doesn't blink. "Get out. Now." Jason doesn't move. For a second, silence stretches between them, thick and suffocating. Then, Jason steps forward. Chris reacts instantly, the gun shifting. Jason lunges. Lauren screams as the two men collide, slamming into the coffee table. The gun clatters to the floor. Fists fly, curses spit between clenched teeth. Years of resentment, betrayal, and fury explode in the chaos. Lauren stumbles backward, hands over her mouth. "Stop!" she cries. But neither man listens. They can't. They're too far gone. Chris pins Jason down, fist colliding with his jaw. Jason grunts, shoving him off. They both scramble for the gun, hands grabbing, twisting. Lauren watches in horror. "Chris, don't!" Jason gets his hand on the grip first. He yanks, but Chris doesn't let go. The barrel swings wildly. They wrestle for dominance, and then a deafening bang slices through the room. For a moment, everything is still. Jason stares, eyes wide in shock. He staggers backward, hand pressed to his stomach. Blood seeps between his fingers. He exhales shakily, blinking like he can't quite believe it. Lauren gasps. Chris doesn't move. Jason sways, legs buckling. His knees hit the ground. His breath stutters. He clutches his stomach as if holding himself together. Chris watches, chest rising and falling in ragged bursts. The gun feels heavier than it should. Lauren rushes forward, falling to her knees beside Jason. "Jason?" Jason looks at her, lips parting, but no words come out. Blood stains his shirt, his hands. Chris steps back, the horror of what just happened crashing down on him like a tidal wave. He shot him. He actually shot him. Jason collapses fully, his body slumping against the floor. The air reeks of gunpowder and sweat. Lauren sobs, shaking him. "Jason, stay with me!" Chris lets the gun slip from his grip. The sound of it hitting the floor is deafening. He killed him. Jason's chest rises once, twice, then nothing. Lauren's cries echo through the house. Chris backs up, his body cold. There's no coming back from this. The night has swallowed them whole. Lauren's hands tremble as she grabs her phone, fingers numb as she dials. Each ring echoes louder in her ears, stretching the unbearable silence. 911, what's your emergency? Her breath is ragged. There's been a shooting. Someone's been shot. Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. Is the victim still breathing? She swallows hard, eyes locked on Jason's motionless form. I don't know. Where are you right now? Lauren's voice breaks. My house. Please, send help. The operator keeps talking, but the words blur. Chris stands over Jason, the gun still hanging from his fingers. He doesn't hear Lauren's frantic voice, doesn't feel the weight of the moment yet. His mind replays it in slow motion. Jason's smirk. The struggle, the gun going off. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. His breath comes in sharp gasps. The red pooling around Jason's torso spreads further, a stain that won't be washed away. He blinks, finally noticing Lauren, phone pressed to her ear, tears streaking her face. For the first time he realizes, this is real, and there's no undoing it. Jason's chest barely moves, each breath weaker than the last. Lauren kneels beside him, gripping his shirt. Stay with me, she pleads. You're gonna be okay. His lips part, a whisper escaping. Lauren. She leans in, desperate to hear, but his body slackens, the fight leaving his eyes. No, 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 she sobs, shaking him. Jason, wake up. Nothing. Chris takes a step back, his pulse a drumbeat in his skull. His fingers unclench and the gun falls to the floor with a dull thud. Sirens wail in the distance. Help is coming, but it's too late. Red and blue flood the neighborhood, sirens screaming into the night. Officers storm the house, weapons drawn. Chris doesn't fight. He lifts his hands as one of them steps forward. Put the gun down, sir. His voice is hollow. I already did. The officer grips his wrists, cold steel snapping around them. The weight is heavier than he imagined. Lauren watches from the floor, Jason's blood staining her hands. One officer approaches her. Ma'am, are you hurt? She doesn't answer. She just stares at Chris. He doesn't look at her. He can't. Two medics push past the officers kneeling beside Jason's body. They work quickly, applying pressure, checking vitals. He's barely got a pulse, one mutters. Lauren grips Jason's lifeless fingers. Please, save him. The medic doesn't promise. He just nods and signals to the stretcher. Chris watches them lift Jason, blood dripping onto the floorboards. His stomach churns. One officer tightens his grip on Chris's arm. You're coming with us. Chris doesn't resist, because resisting won't change what's already done. At the hospital, machines beep frantically. Doctors shout, nurses move with urgency. Jason's eyes flutter open for seconds, his body convulsing under the strain. A nurse leans in, his lips barely move. Tell her. His breathing shallows. I loved her. The machine wails. Lauren bursts into the waiting room just as a doctor emerges. I'm sorry. We did everything we could. She stumbles back, the words sinking in like stones in her chest. Jason is gone. Chris sits in the cold, sterile interrogation room, his reflection staring back from the two-way mirror. The detective enters, files in hand. He doesn't waste time. You're being charged with manslaughter. Chris exhales, the reality solidifying in his mind. He grips the table, his wedding band catching the light. Everything, his marriage, his life, his freedom, is gone. The detective closes the file. Your lawyer will be here soon. Chris nods. But it doesn't matter, because nothing can change what he's done. Lauren unlocks the front door, stepping into a place that doesn't feel like home anymore. The silence is unbearable. Every room carries ghosts. Jason's laugh, Chris's touch, the life that unraveled in an instant. She runs her fingers over the dining table where Jason once sat, where Chris once kissed her goodnight. Now, there's only emptiness. The weight of regret crushes her chest. She wanted love. She found destruction instead. Jason lies 6 feet under, buried beneath whispered rumors and silent grief. Chris is gone too. Not dead, but locked away in a prison cell, serving time for a crime fueled by betrayal. And Lauren? She's the only one left. The last one standing in the wreckage of a love triangle that should have never existed. She grips Jason's hoodie, the only thing left of him, and she finally understands. She lost them both. Lauren stands by the window, staring at the driveway where Jason once parked. She thought the affair would reignite something in her life, bring back the excitement she had lost. Instead, it destroyed everything. She wanted passion. She got devastation. Now, there is no one left to love, only the memories, only the regret. She closes her eyes, and for the first time she realizes she will never escape this. Lauren once believed she could balance everything: Chris's unwavering stability and Jason's intoxicating passion. She thought she could control the lies, keep both lives separate. But fantasies have a way of crumbling under the weight of reality. The moment Chris uncovered the truth, everything started unraveling faster than she could stop it. She convinced herself that deception was just another layer of protection, a well-timed excuse, a careful omission. But love built on secrecy is like a glass house, fragile, waiting for the first crack. Chris found the letter. Then came the confrontation, the gun, the blood. The truth didn't just break her life, it destroyed it. Was it truly love, or just the thrill of escaping the mundane? Jason made her feel alive, wanted. But what was their love worth when it led to his death? She sees his face in her dreams, the moment his body crumpled to the floor. The weight of her choices crushes her chest. Lauren stands before Jason's grave, fingers tracing the letters of his name. A man who once held her heart, now buried beneath the earth. The affair was supposed to save her from loneliness, yet here she is, more alone than ever. No Chris, no Jason, just regret, whispering in the wind. Chris sits in a prison cell, the walls closing in. The anger that once burned in his chest has dulled into a cold, hollow ache. He fought for his marriage, for his dignity. Now he has neither. Just silence, bars, and the knowledge that he let rage define his fate. Every night his mind replays the moment. The argument, the flash, Jason's body hitting the ground. He can still hear Lauren's screams, still feel the cold weight of the gun in his hands. He tells himself it wasn't murder, that Jason lunged first. But guilt doesn't care about justifications. The cell isn't his real punishment. His real sentence is knowing that when he finally gets out, there'll be nothing left. No wife waiting, no home to return to. Just an empty life shaped by a single moment of rage. A man who had everything, now reduced to nothing. 1 second, 1 shot. One decision that changed everything. If he could go back, would he still pull the trigger? Would he walk away instead? He doesn't know. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was a mistake. Either way, it doesn't matter. Jason is gone. Lauren is lost. And Chris is alone. The quiet suburban street will never be the same. People still whisper about that night. The gunshots that shattered the silence. The affair that unraveled 3 lives. Jason's house sits empty, a ghost of the past. Chris's old home has a new family now, but the tragedy lingers, refusing to be forgotten. Some see Lauren as a victim, others as the catalyst. People debate if Chris acted in rage or desperation, but one thing remains certain. Love, when tainted with betrayal and obsession, only leads to destruction. No one won, not Jason, not Chris, not Lauren. Just another tragedy in a town that once felt safe.